Welcome everyone to the Dvar Torah for Parsha Korach, brought to you by Be There Israel and Or Chadash. In this week's Parsha, we have the famous rebellion of Korach against Moshe. This was not the first rebellion. It wasn't the last rebellion, but it was the major one. Because we see that as I'll explain in a second, Moshe felt so challenged that he felt the need to set up a miracle. And according to the text, it's without even asking God that Moshe sets up a situation where he feels he has to prove to the people that God has sent him. It's obvious from that Korach challenged the divine mission of Moshe. He made it as if Moshe had taken the power on his own. And Moshe felt forced to answer this by proving to the people that God had sent him. So what does he do? I'm going to read the pasuk here. It says, it's in chapter 16, verse 28. It says, V'yomer Moshe bezot teidun ki Hashem shalachani. So Moshe says to the people, with this you will know that God has sent me. La'asot et kol ha'ma'asim ha'elu, to do all of these things. Ki lo milibi, it's not from my own heart, meaning I didn't appoint myself. God appointed me. Im kamot kol adam yamutun ela, if these people who are challenging me die a regular death, upekudat kol adam yipaked alehem, and a regular way of punishment comes upon them, Lo Hashem shalachani, God did not send me. And here's the amazing part. Im bria yivra Hashem, v'patzta ha'adama et piha, ubalam utam v'yekola shalahem, v'yardu chaim she'ola, v'yadatam ki na'atsu ha'anashim ha'ela et Hashem. It says, if God will create a new creation, and this is an amazing thing. He's asking God to create something brand new. And what is that? That the earth is just going to open up exactly where Korach and all of his company are and swallow them up, and they will descend. Then you'll know that this is from God and that God has sent me. So this is a very unusual thing. Moshe is going out on a limb here and asking God to create a new creation. So let's try to understand this a little bit deeper. In a book that I helped write with Rabbi Ginsburg called The 5 Dynamics of Leadership, the 5th dynamic of leadership is called a sense of folly. So someone might add, what kind of leadership quality is a sense of folly? There it's explained that what it means is that sometimes a situation presents itself that the only way to deal with the situation successfully is to what we call think outside of the box. That anything that one does inside the box either has been done already or tried and will not make the kind of impact that one needs for success. One needs to think outside of the box. So this case of Moshe is one of the prime examples of thinking outside of the box in a big way, asking God to create a new creation. I should mention that the very next verse says that the earth opened up and swallowed them alive. So he pulled it off. So let's look at a few other cases from the Tanakh and from modern times that show the same thing. There's really 1,000 examples. Here's just a few of them. We have the story of King David. This is before he was king. He was running away from Shaul, King Shaul, and he goes into the land of the Philistines. He had no place else to go. And he was recognized. David had already killed Goliath, so he was quite famous, and his picture was quite famous. And someone recognized him and ran to the king and said, I know this is hard to believe, but I think that David is here in our city. David senses that there's something up here. And he's in enemy territory all by himself. So what does he do? He feigns insanity. He starts acting like a madman. The king comes, and it just turns out that the king's wife and daughters were insane. And he takes one look at David, who's drooling at the mouth, who's scribbling nonsense on a wall, and he says, I don't have enough crazy people in my own house. You bring me another one? Throw him out of here. So they took David and they escorted him out of the city, and he escaped. As a result, David writes one of his psalms that we actually say every Shabbos morning. So this is an example of thinking outside of the box. It's what we would call a sense of folly. But here, folly not in a derogatory way, but in actually a positive way. Another example is Elijah the prophet. When virtually all of the prophets have been killed, the people are worshiping other gods, and Eliyahu is at his wit's end what to do with this people. So he concocts what we'll call a battle of the gods, where he goes to Har Carmel, and he sets up an altar outside of the temple, which under ordinary circumstances is not permitted. And he challenges the priests of Baal to make fire come down from heaven. And they have all day to do it. And during the day, he's actually making fun of them. And all the people are there to see, who's the real God? And finally, as the day is about to end, Eliyahu says, okay, it's my turn now. And Eliyahu actually takes water and he throws it over the altar. And he prays a short prayer, and fire comes down from the mountain. From heaven, and burns up the sacrifice. And the people, in recognition, say, Hashem hu ha'elokim. Hashem hu ha'elokim. These are the words that we end Ne'ilah with every Yom Kippur. We say Shema Yisrael once, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Bo'ed 3 times, and then we say Hashem hu ha'elokim 7 times. So here again, what Eliyahu did was in a sense, outrageous. A contest of the gods, setting up an altar outside of the temple. But it worked. And he was able to bring the people back in tshuva. Let's jump to our day. In 1948, in the War of Independence, as everyone knows, we only were able to hold on to half the city, and barely that. And there was a siege in Jerusalem, and people were hungry, they couldn't get arms. And West Jerusalem was also in danger. And someone came up with this idea to create a weapon that really wouldn't do anything except make an enormous noise. It was called the Davidka. Anyone who's been to Jerusalem, there's actually a square called Davidka Square with a model of this gun that really didn't do any damage, but it made this enormous sound. And they used this and actually had a tremendous impact in critical battles because it scared the enemy tremendously. And what's interesting is this is based on a story about Gidon. Gidon was a prophet, a leader. God sent him to fight a battle. And the way he won the battle was by blowing shofars and taking big jars and smashing them all at once. And the enemy thought there were tens of thousands of soldiers. There were really only 300. So here again, we have the past and the present coming together. And the Torah is giving us great advice. Sometimes you need to think outside the box. Thanks for watching this Devar Torah. If you like what you heard, which I hope you did, please come to our YouTube station, our website, our Facebook, our blog, our Twitter, and take advantage of a plethora of Torah, of audio classes, videos, poetry, stories, music, word and gematria search. You'll find a lot there, and please share this with your friends. www.thetrugmans.com